Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this NFL DFS 2021 Week 5 preview live stream / podcast. My name is Adam Kohn. I am your host. I am an NFL DFS analyst here at Main Event DFS. I'm also a content provider. You may know me from my CSGO Clutch podcast as well. Thank you all for joining me. If you're in Discord, if you're in chat, I got both up. Ladies and gentlemen, stop popping those questions and we're here to answer all your questions. Let's make sure this stream is even working! So I think it is. So it's perfect. It looks good. Everything here looks good. It looks like it's right there, ready to go. All right. Chat. Post if you can hear me. Make sure everything looks good. Post in chat. I want to make sure we got a good audio here. And I want to make sure this is a good interactive podcast for everybody as well. In the meantime, I'm waiting for everyone. I'm just going to post here in chat real quick. First time going live on YouTube in a few years. Excellent! Everyone can hear me good. Alright, let's get into this. I'm going to do things a little bit different this week since it's just me and I don't have a guest host. I'm going to be doing both DraftKings and FanDuel because I know a bunch of you out there play on FanDuel. So we're going to meet those FanDuel needs for all of you as well. First thing we do is we're going to start on DraftKings. This week is going to be a little bit of a different version. I'm going to go over a couple of games I want to target. Two to be specific. I'm going to go over a GPP game. I'm going to go over a game I'm going to fade. I'm going to go into some defenses. I'm going to go into my core value, GPP, and favorite stack segment. And, in addition, I'm going to be taking questions on YouTube here in our live chat. Just hop on in there. Start posting questions you have for this slate or in our Main Event DFS Discord. Link is down below. It's a free Discord community. This is a free show. Discord link is down there. Would love for you to join us. Ask those questions, folks. I got both up. We will get this started. We're going to get this started by just going over some of the Vegas totals. And I'm going to do, like I said, it's going to be a little different format. Kind of sticking to what I've done before the last several weeks. But let's see what else we have going on here. There are not that many games that have a high total over 50. So, with that being said, we're going to take a look at games that, you know, where people are going to be on. So, like the highest over-under games right now are Miami at Tampa Bay. Sitting at a 48 over-under. It's gone down by a 1.5. What else we got? We got Tennessee at Jacksonville. This game has gone down 3.5 points since it opened. It was opened up at a 52. It's now sitting at a 48.5. I think we see that go back up now that we know A.J. Brown is, in fact, going to be playing. All right, let's see. What else we got over here? Detroit at Minnesota. That should be interesting. That game's gone up a point. It's sitting at 49.5 right now. Green Bay at Cincinnati. 50.5 over-under. I really like that. That's gone up. We're going to be talking about Rodgers, Jones, and Adams in this game for sure. If that's not already, you can tell a stack I want to play. But I'll be honest. I'm going to be looking at salaries and everything else for the first time this week with you all while I'm here on the podcast. You're going to get my raw thoughts. Let's see, what else we got for high over-unders? Chicago at Las Vegas, I think, is a little interesting. Cleveland at the Chargers is interesting. We had that report that Baker has some sort of injury with his non-throwing shoulder. I believe it's some sort of partially torn labrum, if I believe I heard correctly. Let's see. I think the game that everyone is going to want to get exposure to and probably all going to start building around is going to be the Giants at Dallas. For good reason. This is going to be a high shootout game, and Danny Dimes is throwing dimes and showing he is not a pushover and he doesn't want to lose the starting job. And it's Trey Lance season, baby! Happy Trey Lance season! San Francisco at Arizona opened up at a 52.5. We are now sitting at a 48.5, so while it's dropped 4 points, I really don't care. It's Trey Lance season, baby! Let's go! I'm very excited to see what this kid can do. He's had the full week of practice. He's had all the reps. Let's get this going. All right, enough of that. We've gone into the totals here, and I'm just very happy to see this Buffalo-Kansas City game at a 56.5 over-under. Whew, it's going to be a fun Sunday night game to watch. Maybe we'll talk a little bit of showdown. We'll see what we have for time. Now, let's get started over here on DraftKings. I'm going to give you all two games I want to target first. And we're going to talk about Green Bay at Cincinnati as a game I want to talk about. And then we're going to talk about, I know, shocker, Giants at the Cowboys. So let's get right on into it. We're going to talk about here Aaron Rodgers sitting at $7,100. And then someone else who I think is going to go massively overlooked on the slate. I think is going to be Joe Burrow sitting at $6,100. Joe Burrow hasn't exactly been terrible. So he's gotten somewhat better each of the last 2 weeks, like Jacksonville. I know, shocker. Jacksonville, bad. So these DraftKings points, well, we want more out of that for 6,100. I think he can get it done. Jair Alexander, I think he's either put on IR, but he's definitely ruled out for this game. So no Jair Alexander. Sign me up for some Bengals pass catchers and Joe Burrow at quarterback. I believe I'm going to try to include Joe Burrow in my player pool. Now, Mixon we've seen get a lot of work. We know Green Bay is a funnel defense. Flowchart is Green Bay on the slate. Is there a running back playing against Green Bay? We play said running back. We listened to Al Zeidenfeld for years talk about like flowchart teams. Well, Green Bay is a funnel team. You can attack them with the run, and they're a little bit more difficult to pass against. No Jair Alexander makes me want to attack this game several ways from Sunday, and I think we're actually going to see over that total. So Joe Burrow, $6,100 over the first 4 weeks of the season. At Minnesota, he had 21 attempts for 20 completions, 30 attempts, 19 completions at Chicago. At Pittsburgh, it's the Pittsburgh defense, a divisional game. 18 attempts, 14 completions. He had 3 touchdowns in that game that really bailed him out. And we're seeing him rush a little bit, but it's not exactly like Joe Burrow's doing a lot with his legs. So he needs to get it done in this game through the air. He needs to get it done also through touchdowns. He has 2, 4, 6, 9 touchdowns through 4 weeks. You'd love to see that. Only 4 interceptions, which is great. Jacksonville, 24-21, 32 attempts for 25 completions. He threw 2 touchdowns in that game. Fantastic. I think Joe Burrow is very interesting this week. Aaron Rodgers, $7,100. Nothing else needs to be said. You're playing Rodgers. You're playing Aaron Jones. You're playing Devonta Adams. You can even play Robert Tonyan. I have no problem playing some Robert Tonyan this week as well. Now, can everyone still hear me? Say stuff in the chat. Make sure you all can still hear me good. Anybody? Alright, in the meantime, if you can't hear me, let me know in chat. But everything looks like it's good. It's just, looks like some video resolution. So, alright. Let's keep this going and talk about the running backs. I think everyone in this game is very interesting. Look, Aaron Jones coming in at $7,900. Look, he's coming in at $7,900 for good reason. All right, thank you, Augustus. Appreciate that. Aaron Jones, $7,900 against Cincinnati. Yes, please. There's really nothing else to talk about here. Aaron Jones is a beast. He's a monster. He has 5 touchdowns through 4 weeks. He's just an absolute madman. You're playing tons of Aaron Jones this week. Excellent. Good to hear, Augustus. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, with that being said, Aaron Jones, 5 touchdowns. He's an absolute nut. He's got, well, oh, we help if I actually looked at the game log, huh? I got the wrong tab. There we go. And he's got 5 touchdowns total. Detroit, he went bonkers. We know that. But here's the deal with Aaron Jones. Cincinnati's defense isn't exactly the greatest. So we go over here. I'm over here at Pro Football Reference. They look at defensive stats for a 2021 season. 4 weeks in is where I particularly, for myself, start looking at 2021 stats. I've been looking at 2020 stats. You've heard me talk about it for so long now. The first 4 weeks of the season, I look at 2020 stats, and if there's something that sticks out to me from 2021 is where I will absolutely, talk about it. But for me, now we're 4 weeks into the season. We have a 4-week sample size. I'm only looking at 2021 data now. So I'm over here, Pro Football Reference, ProFootballReference.com. Make sure you get those hyphens in there. Pro-football-reference.com. Great site. It's an amazing site. I mean, ignore the ads, but it's an amazing website. There's a lot of great information and stats. We're over here under defensive stats. We're going to go defense versus the running back position, and we're going to go down here to yards. And we see some of the worst teams against the rushing. Shocker. Seahawks at number 1. Eagles 2. Surprisingly, Dolphins at 3. That's one thing that really interests me here. The Bengals, surprisingly, one of the better teams against the rush. Coming in at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're the 7th best in the NFL versus the rush. But again, who have they really played? You know, I'm sure Najee destroyed them. So they played the Vikings and Dalvin Cook. They've played the Bears and David Montgomery, the Steelers and Najee Harris. You know, surprisingly, we go down here and we look at the rushing. We see Mixon win a majority of the yards, and we take a look up here. And we can just pull up some of the box scores. I really love this website. Pretty amazing. So the Vikings, what they give up to Dalvin Cook is what I really want to know. So we take this, pull this sucker up here. Okay, that's loading. There we go. What do we got? Dalvin Cook, 20 attempts, 61 rushing yards of a touchdown, 6 receiving yards, 43 receiving yards, no touchdowns. Okay, it's Dalvin Cook. Against the Bears and against David Montgomery, 20 rushing attempts to David Montgomery, 61 yards, no touchdowns, 3 receptions for 18 yards. Okay. I believe this is the Najee torched them game. 14 attempts, 40 yards. Najee had 14 receptions for 102 yards. Yep. Najee crushed them. And against Jacksonville, who would it have been? Where's James Robinson? James Robinson, 18 attempts, 78 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 targets for 1 reception for -2 yards. So I think this Jacksonville rushing defense can be attacked. So we're going to be playing Aaron Jones here, one of the best running backs in the NFL. We play him here. Joe Mixon currently listed as questionable. So according to the latest play news by RotoWire, as of today at 11:15 a.m. on October 9th, Mixon, who was dealing with an Mixon ankle, who went through a workout Saturday morning, is trending toward playing in some capacity Sunday against the Packers, according to NFL Network's Tom Pelissero. Look, here's the deal. If Mixon is going to get limited reps, then this backfield is going to be a freaking disaster. It means you really can't play Mixon, you really can't play Pirine, and you want no part of Chris Evans. Pirine and Chris Evans, both min-priced running backs this week. If for whatever reason Joe Mixon is ruled out, you're playing Samaje Perine and Chris Evans. Now, why do I say you're playing Samaje Perine and Chris Evans? There's a reason. You're going to diversify. You're going to set a rule in your lineup builder that's going to limit your running backs from the Cincinnati Bengals to 1 running back. For the same reason, in showdowns, I set this for the same reason for the Cowboys. Zeke or Pollard. I really don't want multiple. If you want to play Perine and Evans in the same lineup, where's the ceiling? You need Perine and Evans to both get 2 touchdowns if you think there's a massive ceiling. So, with that being said, just keep in mind, we need to see what Joe Mixon's status is for Sunday. Luckily, this is a 1 p.m. game, so we'll know whether Mixon's in or out, and hopefully we'll know if Mixon is going to be limited. If Mixon is in and not limited at 6,200, we're going to play lots of Joe Mixon. Only if he's not limited. If he's going to be on a snap count, I don't know if you can touch this backfield. You can play... I'd play Mixon if he's on a snap count, but it would just be a massive pain in the butt. Heading over to the wide receivers. Devonta Adams, $8,200. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Ready? Boom. 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 That might be a very popular stack on this slate. Rodgers plus Jones plus Adams with a T. Higgins run back. Now, we have 43.60 left per player. If we just plug in, go back to all games. Washington football team at home versus New Orleans. 48.75 per player. It's the making of a good-looking cash lineup, doesn't it? So, I kind of like this as a good building block for starting the cash. So just keep that in mind here for this slate. You're playing tons of Devonta Adams against the Cincinnati team. Again, if we head back here and we go now defense versus the wide receiver position. Not the Cowboys. Bengals. They've given up 699 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. So they're just about mid-pack, if not better, worse than mid-pack in terms of receiving yards, get them to the wide receiver position. I don't think this Bengals defense is as good as these stats are. I think this is a little bit suspect. So I'm going to be playing Adams. I even think you can play an Allen Lazard. Allen Lazard coming in at 3,700 if you want to diversify with Marquez Valdez-Scantling on IR at 4,100. Randall Cobb also going to be involved. We saw him involved last week at Pittsburgh. He had 6 targets or 5 receptions for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns. Don't expect 2 touchdowns, but if he can get this same line at, with 1 touchdown at 4,000, that's a great way to diversify your Green Bay stacks. So Devonta Adams is in play. Randall Cobb's in play. Allen Lazard is in play. Those are the wide receivers I would target. I'm not targeting Amari Rodgers or Nicholas St. Brown. None of the other ones. And for Cincinnati, all 3 wide receivers are firmly in play for this slate. I'm just putting that out there right now. All 3 wide receivers are firmly in play for this slate. Jamar Chase is my favorite with no Jair Alexander. $5,800. Jamar Chase has been an absolute, I wouldn't call him super beast this year, but he's been very, very good. In terms of targets, 7 targets, 5 receptions against Minnesota, 4 targets, 2 receptions at Chicago, 5 targets, 4 receptions at Pittsburgh. Tough defense, but caught 2 touchdowns in that game. 9 targets for 6 receptions last week for 77 yards at home versus Jacksonville. No touchdowns to game, but 4 touchdowns for Jamar Chase through 4 games this season. Been a little up and down, but I like Jamar Chase with no Jair Alexander in a game where Cincinnati's probably going to be from behind and probably going to have to throw the ball. T. Higgins coming in as my second favorite, just because, again, I think we're going to have to throw the ball and stretch the field. And we saw what T. Higgins can do in the 2 games he was active. 5 targets and 10 targets. Caught 4 of those 5 targets in Minnesota. 6 of those 10 targets at Chicago. Had a touchdown in both of those games. Yes, he had the fumble, but T. Higgins seems to be the preferred target. Tyler Boyd is someone we played the last couple of weeks with no T. Higgins. I'm fine with Boyd. If you want to go a little safer with Boyd over Higgins, I don't think Higgins is limited. He's off the injury report. He should be a full go after getting a full practice in on Friday. Chase, Higgins, Boyd for me, but if you want to go Chase, Boyd, Higgins, I don't mind that as well. If you want to go Boyd, Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Higgins, Chase, I don't care. Get exposure to all 3 of these wide receivers in your player pools. Tight ends, I only have interest in Robert Tonyan. I don't really have any interest in CJ Uzomah. Look, defense versus the tight end data is very, for lack of a better term, loud, as I believe I've heard Derek Carty call it in the past. Shout out Derek Carty. So we're looking at the Packers, and we're looking at the Bengals. Again, if your name isn't Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, somewhere in that order, or even how good Dalton Schultz has been. No, I don't want to hear about Dawson Knox and his ridiculous couple of games that he has good every season touchdowns. I have no problem with either tight end. If you want to outright punt tight end and you want to get different with your Cincinnati stacks, I don't mind some CJ Uzomah at 3,000. I think it's actually a really good play at 3,000. I like trying to take safety of like a Kelce or a Waller or a Kittle or like the other tight ends, or even like a Higbee or a Schultz or whoever. We'll talk about Schultz in the next game. I think Uzomah actually, when I think about it now, Uzomah is probably the play over Tonyan at 3,000, but I think Tonyan always a red zone threat, always a threat for a touchdown or 2. Really hasn't been massively involved this season. So I think Uzomah is the play. Just don't be expecting what we saw from CJ Uzomah last week at Jacksonville where he had the 2 touchdowns. But I think Uzomah can do some damage here at Green Bay. Moving on to the second game I want to target here before I get into a GPP game. Kind of no surprise here, right? It's going to be the Giants at Dallas. Really no surprise here. The Giants are somebody that we want to attack. And going against one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL in the Dallas Cowboys. And Dak Prescott sub 7,000. I'm just going to let that sit there with you viewers. Dak Prescott is sub $7,000 versus one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I don't care what the stats say. Their defense is not that good. Jones has been good. Both quarterbacks firmly in play. Dak Prescott, $6,900. Daniel Jones, $6,000. Both quarterbacks firmly in play. Both quarterbacks should be in your player pool. You know, in DFS, you get what's talked about like a late game hammer. This is the hammer. This is going to be a week where I think we could see high scoring out of Chicago, Las Vegas, Philly, Carolina, Cleveland, almost said the Clippers. The Chargers, San Francisco, like every one of these games here in the late slate could smash and break open the slate. We don't have a high-powered offense in the first half of games. Okay, Tampa Bay, great. It's still Miami. Whatever. I still respect that defense. It's Brady. I'm not worried about New England, Houston. I'm not worried about, New Orleans, Washington. Not worried about Denver, Pittsburgh. We're going to want to probably have a decent amount of exposure here in the afternoon window. Because there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to have Giants and Dallas. So if you're sitting there like looking pretty up 50 in the Million Maker and you're done, this game hasn't gone yet. This game has the highest over-under on the main slate. Giants Dallas sitting at a 52 over-under right now. I actually think that's pretty interesting and could be higher. Dallas' defense I don't think is as terrible as the stats probably give it. But the Giants' defense is terrible. With that being said, Prescott Jones firmly in play. For the running backs, here we go again, right? Elliott or Pollard? I think it's Elliott. $7,000. Now, Elliott listed as questionable. Elliott's questionable with a knee. Elliott closed out the week with back-to-back limited practices after sitting out Wednesday's session. He never sounded especially worried about his knee, noting Wednesday that he'd be able to play through any pain or discomfort. That still seems likely to be the case, but Zeke's fantasy managers would nonetheless be wise to look for confirmation ahead of the Cowboys' 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff Sunday. That came here from the latest news supplied by RotoWire. Adam Kaplan of SiriusXM NFL Radio reports that Elliott knee is listed as questionable for Sunday's game against the Giants. Look, this is what you're going to have to be very cognizant of with the slate. If you're mass multi-entering the slate and you have a ton of Zeke, you better have a backup set of plans ready to go. If for whatever reason Zeke is limited or ruled out, you're going to want to make sure you have exposure to Tony Pollard, but there's a $1,400 salary difference. So just know, so this is why we sometimes talk about if-then statements. If Ezekiel Elliott is out, then play Tony Pollard. So if X player is out, play X player or players. Right? So let's just say for all intents and purposes Zeke goes. We're playing lots of Zeke in this game. It's the Giants, they're bad. I want to play lots of Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard, we've seen how great of a running back he is. Cowboys have playoff and Super Bowl aspirations this year with how great this offense is. With that being said, if they want to go cautious and say, you've had limited practices, we really want to rest you for next week, Elliott could be ruled out, and we're not going to know until after the entire main slate is locked. So, if Elliott's ruled out, if you're mass multi-entering, you're going to want to have another script and CSV, however you all do it, you want to have another one ready to go that has no Elliott, but all your 1 p.m. games are locked in. So just be very careful with that this week. Be very, very careful. Saquon Barkley against Dallas is fine. Not exciting, but he's fine. I have more interest in Ezekiel Elliott, more interest in Tony Pollard. So, with this being said, let's move on to the wide receivers. Again, I want to play lots of Elliott this week. I think he's going to go. But it's ultimately up to Mike McCarthy and what they want to do with Ezekiel Elliott. Again, they want to keep him rested for a playoff run. Lots of red on here and a questionable tag. So let's talk about it. Let's go with the Giants wide receiver core right now. It's Kenny Golladay. It's Kadarius Toney. It's John Ross. Maybe Colin Johnson. Remember Colin Johnson? We played him last year with the Jaguars. So 7 targets, 5 receptions versus Atlanta. Nothing last week. I have no interest in Colin Johnson. John Ross clearly stepped up last week, had the touchdown. Only 4 targets with 3 receptions. Again, had the long touchdown, 77 yards total. 16.7 DraftKings points. He was min-priced last week. He's 3,400 this week. I want to play some Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney, $4,000 this week versus Dallas. The rookie first rounder that the Giants drafted this year. Saw 9 targets last week for 6 receptions for 78 yards. No touchdowns. But I think we could see something out of Toney this week. Large field GPPs, John Ross is fine. Kenny Golladay is your main play if you're stacking with Daniel Jones. You're playing Lamb. You're playing Cooper. You're playing Cedric Wilson. Cooper currently coming in with a questionable tag. So according again from the news here on DraftKings, by RotoWire, Dallas beat writers expect Cooper and running back Ezekiel Elliott knee to play after both managed limited practice participation Thursday and Friday. So again, keep an eye on inactives, but the Dallas beat writers expecting both Cooper and Elliott to play. Green light, we're playing all of our Dallas players. Lamb 1, Cooper 2, Wilson 3. I think it's a CeeDee Lamb kind of week. Tight ends, I said we'd get to it. It's Dalton Schultz. How many years now have we played tight ends versus the Giants as one of Al Zeidenfeld's flowchart teams? How many years have we played them? We're playing Dalton Schultz this week. He looks really good. He looks locked in. He's only had 20 receptions, he's got 3 touchdowns, 201 yards. He's had impact plays that may not be reflected on the scoring sheet. 6 targets, 2 targets, 7 targets, 8 targets. He's getting the targets. And for a tight end to be coming up so far, 3 touchdowns, 45 yards, 18 yards, 80 yards, 58 yards. Schultz is involved. We take a look at what Blake Jarwin has done. 3 targets, 4 targets, 2 targets, 3 targets. 89 yards total. Dalton Schultz is the guy. I really like Dalton Schultz this week as a cheap tight end. We're playing tight ends against the Giants. We're playing Dalton Schultz. Evan Ingram, he's fine. This team needs pass catchers with no Shepard and no Slayton already ruled out for this game. Last 2 weeks, 6 targets each. He only caught 2 of his 6 targets versus Atlanta. He caught 5 of his 6 targets at New Orleans. No touchdowns yet. I think Evan Ingram at 3,200 is a fine tight end play as well. If you have questions, fire them up in chat here on YouTube or fire them up in the Main Event DFS Discord. I'll be checking for these questions. We're going to right now get into a GPP game that I want to target. And that GPP game I want to target, there are quite a few good ones this week. We could talk about Miami at Tampa. We could talk about Detroit at Minnesota. If you really want to go off the wall, you can talk about New England and Houston. I'll get my fade game out of the way right now. New England at Houston is my fade game. I have zero desire to see this. The only relevant play in this game is Damian Harris. There, you're welcome. That's already done. Move on. So we're going to wash our hands of the New England-Houston game. I don't know what to do with that game. Look, as a Patriots fan, I hope we win. If you want to play Mac Jones, Damian Harris, Jacoby Myers stack, fine. I may leave them in. I just have no desire in that game. That's going to be... What? It's going to be what? Let's see. Where's the line? 39.5 over-under. There are plenty of other games that I think have higher upside than that game, but I do like for a large field GPP, like a Millie Maker stack, Mac Jones plus Damian Harris plus Jacoby Myers. Just don't go crazy. This is not a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be just the Patriots are going to gut through this kind of game. So with that being said, Again, GPP games, so maybe New England and Houston. Again, I'm fading it. I have no problem fading it. New England stacks, I'm probably going to leave in. Detroit at Minnesota, people are going to want to talk about. Miami at Tampa, probably going to want to talk about. Denver at Pittsburgh, I think, is actually more interesting. People are giving it credit for. A lot of these games can be considered GPP games. Like I said, I don't know what to think of Chicago, Las Vegas, whether it's going to be a trap game, whether it's going to be a blow-up game. We're going to say it's going to break the slate. I want to talk about this game. San Francisco at Arizona. We'll talk about both of them. Chicago at Las Vegas, San Francisco at Arizona. I'll give you two. We're going to go through both very quickly, and I'm going to combine them. Yeah, and it's my podcast. I'll do what I want. Actually, we'll do this real quick one at a time. My bad. Chicago at Las Vegas. Derek Carr, 6,100. Justin Fields, named the starter, $5,200. Justin Fields, firmly in play. Derek Carr, I don't know if I really want to play it. Sorry, folks. I didn't think my headset would shut off with me being on a live stream. So, no worries, no worries. Sorry about that. All right. I was just saying about Derek Carr. If you want to play him, fine. He's been really good this season. I just think this is a trap game for him. So, I guess I will get to that question in a second. Let me just finish up this game, then I will address that question before we get into San Francisco at Arizona. So, Derek Carr, he's a fine play. Justin Fields, I like way more. We talk about the running backs in this game. Look, no David Montgomery means you fire up Damian Williams for these $600. Alexander Madison, Chuba Hubbard, and now Damian Williams. I've told you all for the last few weeks, we've been playing all of them. Madison crushed, Hubbard was okay, we're playing Damian Williams. So look, in my main season-long league, I was staring down Damian Harris, who I had on my roster, versus Damian Williams, who I could have picked up off waivers. I dropped Damian Harris for Damian Williams. I know, shocker. But I'd rather play the running back in what's going to probably be a higher scoring game than a running back like Damian Harris, who, while he has all the talent in the world, has seen his workload decrease every week this season. Tampa was its own beast. All right, that was the Mac Jones needed to show up game. That was the you're not running against Tampa. Tampa's on the slate. You fade the running back on the other side, for the most part. Damian Williams, $5,600. High-end GPP, low-end core play for me on the slate. Because he's going to provide value. He's on the late slate. He's going to be a hammer. I want to target probably a lot of his late slate. Look, when I talk about San Francisco at Arizona, I'm going to have a ton of Trey Lance. Trey Lance is a core play for me this week. Shocker. When you see his price tag, you'll understand why Trey Lance is a core play for me this week. I don't think Arizona's defense is as good as they're not saying they are. So, Josh Jacobs versus Chicago, no thank you. No Peyton Barber this week, but listed as questionable. I expect him to be out. He logged a limited participant in practice. I don't expect Peyton Barber to play. I'm not playing any Kenyon Drake. I'm fading the Las Vegas running backs. You don't play Josh Jacobs, that's fine. Damian Williams is a way of interest in. I'm not really taking any chances on Khalil Herbert. But just keep that name in mind if anything happens to Damian Harris. Wide receivers in this game. On the Chicago side, Mooney's the one. If Robinson doesn't get it done this week at $5,500, you hit the panic button on Allen Robinson. And if I was Chicago and you want to treat him like that and not get him targets or not get him force fed or whatever's going on with him, trade him. Just saying. Darnell Mooney is my favorite at $4,700 due to price. Robinson, I absolutely want to play as well. Those are the two I'm focusing on. I'm not playing any Jakeem Grant. I'm not playing Bird. I'm not playing any of these other wide receivers for Chicago. For the Vegas side of things, Renfro is my favorite at $4,900, followed by Ruggs at $5,600. Bryan Edwards is a desperation dart throw play at $3,800. Tight ends in this game. Darren Waller, $7,300. It's kind of no surprise. This is the Darren Waller game. This is you play Darren Waller because Darren Waller gets force-fed the ball. He gets all these different targets every single game. He saw 19 targets at Baltimore. That was an insane amount of targets. 7 targets each of the last 3 weeks. 7 targets at Pittsburgh. 7 targets at Miami. 7 targets against the almost call them the Clippers again, against the Chargers. He's got over 10 DraftKings points in every single game he's been in. And yeah, $7,800 I think is a lot to ask for Waller. It's Chicago, so I don't mind including my player pool. He's not my favorite. If you want to take a chance on Cole Kmet, he's fine. So yeah, 2,700 for Cole Kmet, fine. Take a chance on him. No interest in Jimmy Graham. All right, Augustus's question here in chat. So, what's your favorite core for the early only slate? Well, that's really interesting to me because if we take a look just at an early only, so I'm just going to highlight the early only games here. So I don't want to go all the way back out. We take a look at the, sorry about that. Let's look at the early only games, right? We take a look, let's just say quarterbacks. Brady coming in at 7,400, Rodgers 7,100. Burrows a GPP play, not a core play for me. If you're punting quarterback, you could do worse than Mac Jones at 5,300. Derrick Henry, core play, early only. $9,000 at Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense is bad. You're playing Derrick Henry. Where's Chuba Hubbard coming in at? He's 6,000 at home versus Philly. Probably not a super core play for me, but definitely someone I want a lot of exposure to on the early only slate. Aaron Jones at Cincinnati is going to be someone you want to heavily target. We're going to have to keep an eye out of Dalvin Cook. If Dalvin Cook is in at home versus Minnesota, not limited, you want to play Dalvin Cook. If Dalvin Cook is out, Madison is $5,500, and we're going to be playing some Alexander Madison. I really have no interest in anyone else. I'm not playing Kenneth Gainwell against Carolina. Leonard Fournette at home versus Miami. 5,200, not a core play, but he's a fine play. Wide receivers. We take a look at the wide receivers. Devonta Adams, core play. At Cincinnati, you want to play Devonta Adams. The Cincinnati wide receivers, not core plays, Augustus, but you definitely want to have them in your player pool for early only slates, because I think all 3 wide receivers could be very viable. I don't know if one of them is going to, quite frankly, separate themselves here. So, let's see who else. I think A.J. Brown at Jacksonville, off the injury report, 6,500. I think someone you absolutely want to get exposure to. Sorry if you can hear anything in the background. So don't worry about that. You shouldn't hear anything, but there's some background noise. I got, if I remember, that's on a phone call, so I apologize if you guys hear anything in the background. We're actually planning an amazing birthday party for tomorrow, so shh. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, we're planning a really cool birthday party for tomorrow, so I think it's just plans for there. But so I apologize if you can hear anything for that in the back. I think we have to keep an eye out on this Cortland Sutton situation. Popped up on the injury report, I believe, late in the week. He's got a sprained ankle, and yeah, so I think Tim Patrick would be firmly in play if we see Cortland Sutton ruled out, and it's a pure volume play. Tim Patrick, $4,700 is a pure volume play. So I think that's fine. Where's Deontay Johnson? 6,500. Again, not a core play, but I think someone you want in your player pool. At home. Tight end. Pick someone that can catch passes. Is that bad to say? The highest price player for tight end is TJ Hawkinson, who's listed as questionable for $5,500. I just have. You want to play a Jonnu Smith, you want to play a Tyler, you want to play a Conklin, you want to play a Tanyan, you want to play a Gesicki, you want to play a Henry. I don't have a core play for the early slate. I think Uzomah at 3,000 is super interesting the more I think about it. Did that answer your question? I hope it did. We're going to move on here. If you have any other questions, feel free to pop them up in chat. And we're going to talk about it's Trey Lance season. I talked about it. I've been waiting for it. I own Trey Lance in almost every single redraft league that I am in this year. I spent decent draft capital for him. Kyler Murray, $8,000. He's a beast. Nothing else to be said here. And you are most welcome, Augustus. Trey Lance. Why did I call Trey Lance a core play? He's $5,700. We are playing Trey Lance this week. Trey Lance is a threat with his legs to do a lot of... Trey Lance is a threat to do a lot of damage with his legs. So I want to make sure that we play a lot of Trey Lance this week. Arizona's defense, I don't think they're this good. Are they an improved defense? They're definitely an improved defense. I have no interest in getting off any Trey Lance this week. None. $5,700. He's going to be a cheap option. He's in the late window. This game opened up. Just think about this. It opened up when Garoppolo was still the starter. It opened up at 52.5. It's sitting at 48.5. Too low. I think we see Trey Lance season in fine form. Maybe a rushing touchdown or two. We can't predict that, but I think we're setting ourselves up for success by playing lots of Trey Lance this week. And when I say lots, don't go like 65%. But like, I haven't looked at any projected ownerships yet. If you want to go 30% Trey Lance, 35% Trey Lance, that's plenty. Because if you think of it on 20 max, that's how many lineups? That's not that much. So I think we get exposed to Trey Lance this week. We get a lot of Trey Lance this week. And we're moving on to the running backs in this game. Again, this is a GPP only game. This is not a game I'm targeting for cash games. Keep that in mind. Chase Edmonds listed as questionable in this game. We need to keep an eye out. Again, this is an easy one. If Chase Edmonds is out, you just plug in James Conner in those lineups. It's a $300 difference. You just keep that in mind. I have interest in Conner a little bit. Edmonds, not so much, but we'll see if Edmonds is in. I just want nothing to do with either one of them. We are going to have to really see what goes on with this game. So, Elijah Mitchell, $5,200. Trey Sermon, $5,000. So, Kyle Juszczyk also been very heavily involved. And something we need to also keep in mind. But I just want right now until we see who's gonna emerge in this backfield. We need to see that this week. So if you all want to take the chances on a Mitchell or a Sermon, fine. If you want to take 5% on a Juszczyk and a large field GPP, I got no problem with that. You want to play 5 to 50% Juszczyk on a late slate? No problem with that whatsoever. The wide receivers from this game is where I think things are interesting. DeAndre Hopkins sub 8,000 this week, $7,600. So sorry about that. So DeAndre Hopkins, $7,600 this week is someone I absolutely think that we need to firmly target. Deebo Samuel on the other side. These are the two main guys. I am very disappointed in Brandon Ayuk. We've seen really nothing from him this year. And his DraftKings price tag shows $4,500. Someone absolutely shows this week. Hopkins, $7,600. We're getting some DeAndre Hopkins this week. We need Deebo Samuel in our last pools. Just know, like, Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, my goodness, what did the price discrepancy? $7,100 for Samuel and $4,500 for Ayuk. Yikes. I think for me, AJ Green's someone I got interested in at $5,100 this week as the number 2. Again, it's Hopkins 1 and throw a dart to figure out which of these other 3 wide receivers are going to be the 2 for that week. It's very difficult. It's very up and down with this secondary wide receiver core. Just keep that in mind. So, I think it's AJ Green for me too. If you want to take the chance on a Rondale Moore at $4,600, and then Christian Kirk $4,900, I think that's the way to go. Kirk might be fine at $4,900. Moore hasn't been as involved recently. Like, if we take a look at Rondell Moore's stats, 5 targets, 8 targets, and then 2 targets and 3 targets. Like, he's still a rookie. Like, I think it's Hopkins 1, Green 2. I like the upside of Moore 3, and Kirk maybe 4, but Kirk may be a little bit safer than Moore. Like, but even as Kirk, like, you know, even as Kirk, like, he's up and down too. Like 5 targets, 4 targets, 8 targets, and 1 target. 24 DraftKings points, 9.5 DraftKings points, 20.4 DraftKings points, and 1.5 DraftKings points. He's all over the place, but he's more involved than Rondell Moore is. So just keep that in mind. Look, Brandon Ayuk, we talked about it. 4,500. This is a guy who I thought was going to be a star this year. 0 targets. Was a healthy. I don't know if it was a healthy start. I wasn't involved week 1. I forget what that was. 2 targets at Philly. 6 targets at Green Bay. 3 targets at Seattle. I just don't get it. I really, really don't. He needs to be more involved in this. I'm very disappointed. If you want to take chances on Brandon Ayuk, I'm totally fine with that. George Kittle's been put on IR. If you want to take a chance on a Ross Dwelly, go for it. I have no interest in any of the tight ends in this game. No interest in Max Williams either, and he's also listed as questionable. Let's go to our defense segment here real quick on DraftKings. And then I want to go on to FanDuel very briefly. Patriots defense on the road at Houston is $4,900. I'm just going to have a sip of a drink here real quick. I just want everyone listening, let that price tag sink in. A defense that's just under 5,000. Has it sunk in yet? Has it sunk in yet? That's insane. But they're worth the play. I don't like typically playing on the road defenses. They are 100% firmly in play on the slate. They really, really are. Bucks defense, 4,700. Someone I'm going to have in my player pool. Just keep in mind, defenses are way over $4,000. They're going to be very tough to fit in your play pool. Do you want a defense that you think can get you 10 to 15 points, maybe? Or do you want more upside of like wide receivers or running backs or whatever? Just keep that in mind. No interest in the Broncos on the road at Pittsburgh. I mean, the Titans 3,800 maybe on the road against Jacksonville, fine, but the Titans defense has been terrible. Packers defense, no Jair Alexander on the road, no thank you, but sure, you can leave him in there. Panthers defense at home. We're going to see if they're legit this week. At home versus Philly, 3,400. I get interest in them. Steelers defense at home versus Denver. Interest in them, $3,300. Too cheap. No interest. I mean, the Bears on the road are interesting. Maybe 3,200. No interest in the Saints defense at Washington. Maybe a little bit, but it's more like a Marshawn Lattimore play. Who's going to try to cover Terry McLaurin. We take a look. No interest in the Vikings defense at home. I mean, it's a defense versus Detroit, but Minnesota secondary is not exactly that good. But they're getting Anthony Barr back, which I think is going to help this week. So Minnesota's fine at 3,000. Raiders at home versus Justin Fields. If you believe in what we've seen from the Raiders defense this week or this year, fine. You can play them. They're in play at $2,900. I'm not playing the Cardinals because I'm going to have a lot of Trey Lance. I'm just telling you that right now. I'm not playing the Cardinals defense as of this recording. I got to go and actually see what projections say or potential ownerships are. For Cardinals and 49ers, I just have no interest right now in either one of them. You can play the Cardinals defense if you want and you want to go against Trey Lance. Fine. Cowboys defense. No, not in this high-scoring game. No interest in the Cowboys, no interest in the Giants. If you want to take a chance, you get a sack or two and get some points, fine. Chargers defense, I got more interested than the Browns defense, 2,700. The chalk donkey of the week is going to be the Washington football team at home. This defense should have been a top 5 unit in the NFL with that in front 7. They're at home versus New Orleans. I get interested in the Washington football team. Houston is my GPP defense play of the week. Don't turn the stream off because I said that. But the Texans defense at home. Look, the Patriots are going to be without 4 of their starting offensive linemen. Just think about that. The Patriots are going to be without 4 of their offensive starting linemen. They're going to have backups. I think the Texans at 2,300 have a chance at a couple sacks in this game. Maybe have the chance at a pick. Maybe have the chance at a fumble recovery. And then the Texans are my GPP defense play of the week. And that's it in terms of, I mean, if you want to take a chance in some Jags at home, $2,100, that's fine. The Eagles at Carolina. No, thank you. Let's head over to FanDuel. What I know all you FanDuel people have been waiting for. Let's talk about it. Quarterbacks. I'm doing this position by position since I've gone game by game. I will let you know if anything stands out. A lot of the same plays that I've mentioned to you already on DraftKings are going to be applicable to FanDuel. Keep in mind, FanDuel does not give passing bonuses, rushing bonuses, and it's a half point per reception. So we're looking for more touchdown equity here on FanDuel. Kyler's in play, Tom's in play. Again, I'm just going over plays that I think are interesting. Kirk Cousins, $700, I think is interesting. Trey Lance, 6,900. Daniel Jones, 7,400. Dak's expensive, shocker. Mac Jones, 6,700. Ben Roethlisberger, 6,600. Trevor Lawrence, 6,500. Andy Dalton, 6,400. I'm sorry. Justin Fields, 6,400. Not Andy Dalton. Running backs. Derrick Henry, smash play this week. He's versing the Jaguars. 17 attempts versus Arizona, 35 versus Seattle, 28 versus Indy, 33 versus the Jets. We're playing Derrick Henry this week. We're playing lots of Derrick Henry this week. Again, Cook's in play if he plays. McCaffrey's doubtful. Aaron Jones, 8,400 Cincinnati. Yes. Zeke, 8,000. Yes. Eckler, he's fine. Not a great play this week because I respect that Cleveland defensive line. James Robinson's fine at $7,400. Probably a little bit overpriced for me. Najee's fine at $7,300. Chuba, 6,700. He's a good play. Joe Mixon, again, we need to see the injured designation. Is he playing? Is he limited? Again, $700 is a lot to ask for him here in a non-full PPR, on a non-full PPR site. Damian Harris, 6,500. Again, he's fine. Where's Damian Williams on the slate? $5,800. Firmly in play. Trey Sermon, $5,800. Where's Elijah Mitchell? Elijah Mitchell, $5,500. Trey Sermon, $5,800. I'll take the discount here. $5,500 for Elijah Mitchell. Again, get your if-then statements ready. Leave $100 on the table here on FanDuel. If Edmonds is out, you play Connor. I like Connor over Edmonds, but if Edmonds is playing, then it's going to eat into Connor's workload. Just keep that in mind. Again, Damian Williams is a great play. Trey Sermon, Kenneth Gainwell, $5,700. No, he's a PPR play. He's not a play for this site. Maybe. I think the Carolina defense is actually legit. Again, Pollard, $5,600. If Zeke's going to play, but I don't mind Pollard either. Can get you a touchdown. There's Elijah Mitchell, $5,500. No interest in Round, $5,500. Let's see. Anyone else down here we want to play, folks? I really wish the Patriots would just play Ramondre Stevenson already. Nah, no one else down here. Wide receivers. Devonta Adams, yes. Again, we're just going to continue to point out DeAndre Hopkins, 700, too cheap. Mike Williams, overpriced. Deebo Samuel, a little overpriced. I think DJ Moore was a fine play, $700. Got some touchdown equity. I think Justin Jefferson's fine. Thielen is fine. Jamar Chase. Better price on DraftKings than here on FanDuel, I'll tell you that. Deontay's fine, 7,000 against Denver. I like the discount you get on Keenan over Mike Williams, but it's only a $500 difference. A.J. Brown, yes, $6,900. C.D. Lamb, $1,600, both firmly in play here on FanDuel. T. Higgins, $6,700. I like that price tag over Chase, but again, all three Cincinnati wide receivers firmly in play. Wes Boyd, $600. They did a good job pricing. No interest in Brandon Cooks. Bill Belichick likes to take away the number one option for the opposing team. Allen Robinson, look, again, call your shot. If you think he's going to do good, play him. $6,100. Again, Tim Patrick, $6,000. This is where, if Sutton's out, he might... Patrick is an interesting play here on FanDuel. Keep that in mind. He's a pure volume play because he's really the only other wide receiver right now. And does Pittsburgh just double-team Tim Patrick, and Denver can't get anything going. So Pittsburgh's defense looking better and better if Sutton doesn't play. Hunter Renfrow, PPR target, probably not someone here on FanDuel I want to target. I think Henry Ruggs is the better chance for a touchdown than Renfrow. So touchdown-wise, Ruggs. Volume-wise is Renfrow. Jacoby Myers, again, I mentioned the GBP stack. You can go Jones, Harris, Myers. Works here on FanDuel as well. AJ Green, $5,700. Darnell Mooney, $5,600. Robbie Anderson at $5,600. Randall Cobb, I think, is interesting at $5,500. Kadarius Toney. Sure, you can include when you play a pool. Just don't go crazy again. Maybe with a volume play, but I want to see what we can see from Toney. He's someone we can have exposure to this week. Brandon Ayuk, $5,300. I'd be having Ayuk in a player pool in an MMA. $5,300, and I would stack him with Trey Lance. John Ross here is fine with the threat of a long touchdown. He's fine here. Cedric Wilson's fine, but not someone I'm super interested in, but definitely someone I want exposure to. Lazard, fine. Rashard Higgins, fine. No one else sticks out. So those are your plays here at wide receiver. Let's head over and check out the tight end position. Oh, N'Keal Harry, 5,000. No, thank you. Let's head over here to... Yeah. Chester Rogers, $5,100. A long shot play. Let's over tight end. Waller, $7,400. Sure. Dalton Schultz, $6,200. Very expensive, but firmly in play. Noah Fant in play, because he's going to have to catch passes if it's just him and Tim Patrick. CJ Uzomah, $5,500. They did a good job here. I like that price tag. Probably like a more on DraftKings than FanDuel, but I got a really good feeling about Uzomah this week now. Tanyan's fine. Ingram's fine. Henry's fine. Wish someone stood out. Dan Arnold for Jacksonville. $4,800. Like that play a lot. Tight end is terrible this week. Maybe it's just a pay up for Dalton Schultz kind of week. Cook's fine. None of these guys just excite me, guys. Can you hear the excitement in my voice? It's not exciting. So. That's it for FanDuel. Let's head over here, and now it's time for me to go over my core value, GPP, and favorite stack segment. I think you already figured out my favorite stack of the week. It's Rodgers, it's Jones, it's Adams. Run back of one of Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. I like a Higgins run back. Chase run back is fine. Boyd run back is fine. Uzomah run back is unique, but fine. Value on this slate. We take a look at value. We look at guys like Tony Pollard, $5,600. Madison, if Cook is out, $5,500. Damian Harris, $5,500. We take a look at that. Damian Williams, $5,600. But even going to go cheaper than that, Elijah Mitchell, $52. Fournette, $52. No interest in anyone else here. Really wish they played Ramondre Stevenson so we could play him against Houston. Value at wide receiver, Jacoby Myers, $5,600. All the Cincinnati wide receivers are too underpriced. They're all values. Robbie Anderson, $5,000 is a value. Renfro, $4,800 value. Kirk, Chenault, Mooney, $4,700. Great value play. Tim Patrick, if Sutton's out, Tim Patrick's our play. Quintez Cephas, $4,300. Brandon Ayuk, $4,500. Rondell Moore and Nelson Aguilar firmly in play. Rondell Moore, $4,600. Nelson Aguilar, $4,400. That's really about it. Cedric Wilson. $4,100. Randall Cobb, $4,000. Great value play. Kadarius Toney, $4,000. You want to go cheaper? KJ Osborne, $3,000. Alan Lazard, $3,700. Guyton, $3,500. Sanu and Ross, both $3,400. Both fine. That's where I'm going. Probably not going any cheaper than that. You want to take a chance on Jamal Agnew? Go for it. Value at tight end. CJ Uzama. Dan Arnold and Cole Kmet. GPP, any of the Cincinnati wide receivers. Deontay Johnson, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry. Purely based on price at $9,000, you need value to pay him for him to pay off. Najee, $6,900. Chubb, $6,700. Chuba Hubbard's a GPP play. Damian Williams, you talked about a lot. CeeDee Lamb's a GPP play. $6,200 for CeeDee Lamb. Oh boy. Too cheap? He's too cheap. Murray Cooper, $6,100. Too cheap. Jacoby Myers, Brandon Cooks, Allen Robinson. Tight end, Dalton Schultz. And y'all know my favorite stack. Rodgers plus Jones plus Adams with one of the Cincinnati wide receiver runbacks. And that is going to do it for this edition of the NFL DFS 2021 Week 5 preview. I still need a podcast named Show. If y'all have any other questions, this is the time to ask them before I sign off here. So drop your questions in the Main Event DFS Discord chat or here on YouTube chat. I'll give you all about a minute to get your questions in. Just continue to look over here at FanDuel if I missed anything. I really like Kohn at $6,200. We have like 4 million people watching this stream. Come on now, there's got to be some questions out there. All right. No other questions. Thank you all for tuning in here to this live stream / podcast show. And I will catch you all for the Week 6 edition of this podcast next week. Good luck on this slate. Latest, peoples.